Well, last year, Scott, we talked about kind of just your coaching journey and how you got this job here at Clear Fork. And what I'd like to maybe talk to you about in this interview is just kind of how you built this program, because I think you said this is your 5th year.
Yep.
In the girls programs. So I'd like to maybe for our viewers, we're going to just maybe talk about maybe like a timeline. So the first thing is, you end your season last year in the district tournament. Okay, that the season ends, and maybe talk a little bit about what you do at the end of the season, to end the season, and then what do you do to start preparing for the next year?
Yeah, and I'd even back it up to after the first year. We took our lumps. I think I was hired a week before the season, call it, and it was struggle fest. We won 7 games, and after that season, like, what do we have to do to be able to compete with these teams that really dominate the game around here? And it goes back to, what do you do in the off season? How are you building your youth program? And then how do you get those players to come up? So that was goal year 1, was let's get something established at the youth level. So, by year 4 or 5, you got kids that can play. I've said this to people, the best coaches always have one thing in common. They just have the best players. So if you really buy into skill development like we do, then it takes some of the guesswork out of how to win. To answer your question, last year, we ended up 17-8 for the 2nd consecutive season. I thought we had a great year. You find out though that we weren't very deep. I had 5 kids that averaged 25 plus minutes a game, and that's something we really looked at in the off season, and we thought that we had some kids coming up with some length that would be able to contribute to the team's success this year. And we challenged them to get in the gym more, to do some things that they needed to do. And we're playing 8 kids anywhere from 16 minutes up this year, which is a nice luxury to have.
So when you talked about you challenged them, do you have like individual conferences with each of these players when the season ends?
Yep, we have our end of the year evaluations. I'll sit down with them and I'll talk about, here are the things you did really well, here are the things you can probably work on, and here are your opportunities for next year. We look at it as, if you're in our top 7, 8, 9, and you can play the game, it doesn't really matter what your last name is. It doesn't matter how long you've played or been in the program. If I have a freshman that can flat out play, I'll play them. And if it's seniors, I'll play them. It's equal to everybody, and it has everything to do with how much time you put in, your skill set, and how much you buy into us. And I'm the beneficiary of a community that has really supported the kids with multi-sport athletes to get tough coaching elsewhere, and so we take advantage of that as well. Just the environment that we're in, we're very lucky here. Again, we've seen success because these kids have had success outside of the basketball court.
So in the spring, maybe just be a little bit specific about, your season ends, you probably, you got the 30-day dead period. And then in the spring, like what's the plan as far as when you start maybe in April and May, what you have your kids doing?
It's usually April 15th is when we start
tax day.
Yeah, so when we start tracking stuff. So I look at the off season kind of in three chunks, right? It's April, May, it's June team ball in July, dead period in August, and then it's September, October. We compete with softball, meaning we lose kids to softball. If our kids play a sport out of season for us, I don't let them in the gym with us. They're supposed to focus on softball, focus on soccer. If you guys want to shoot, you got to go do that on your own, but you won't come into an open gym with us. We've had great support from our other coaches as well that allow them to focus on the season that they're in, currently. So we started doing some things around mid-April as far as shots. I have curriculum for them as far as dribbling, passing, shooting, some skill development things you can do on your own. That's really April, May. June is really heavy team ball, first 3 weeks, and then it's all about skill development the rest of June and July. August is off, and then by the time you get to September, October, half of our team plays soccer, and so they put in the work kind of getting into there. The nice thing though is they're running and jumping and doing all the things that translate over to the basketball floor, September, October. So it's a good balance there. To answer your question though, for us, it starts the day after we lose, honestly, from a coaching staff perspective, evaluating things. And then it is, what do we need to do to give these kids the ability to get better? And then when they buy in, I think you can see that you can get better relatively short amount of time.
So you mentioned about, those first 3 weeks of June kind of being the team thing. When you look at this team this year, and maybe the expectations you had, what did you do maybe in those 3 weeks with that team stuff to challenge those kids as far as like kind of what events did you go to, or what did you do with your open gyms?
We went to 4 shootouts. We set up a couple scrimmages. You get 13 coaching days now,
right. Yep.
which we don't extend. It is, for us, it's June 1st through June 21st, call it. Outside of that, it's mostly skill stuff. But what it allows you to do now, Coach, is we had 90% of our offense stuff installed. We had our fast break stuff. I got to see rotations. I had 9 or 10 kids that we took everywhere. That's since came down to 8 that kind of play in our rotation. So that allows you, and it's a nice luxury to have, it allows you to hit the ground running in October when our soccer team goes on a regional run. We get them a week and a half late, but it really doesn't matter. I think they could have won a state title this year, and I don't know that we necessarily would have had to push the season because a lot of the teaching stuff we covered in June, and they knew it and they picked it up really quick. So that is a nice thing, nice change I think that OHSA and you guys have made, allowing us to do a couple more things where we don't have to really jam everything in at the beginning of the season.
And within that, we're talking about your varsity and your JV teams there, but like in the summer, what do you do with your youth program, and then maybe talk a little bit about how you take that from the summer into the fall and what you're doing with them now in the winter?
So we do a lot of things where they'll submit some scores for shooting and things like that. Obviously, we run our team camp. We've identified coaches now from grades 3 through 8 that are with those kids in the summer. So we get them gym time. They have access to the players. We do our team camp, obviously, and we bring them in a couple days a week, even the youth kids, for dribble, pass, shooting stuff, and they've bought in during a time where they're playing softball and they're playing soccer. So we don't go crazy. A couple days a week, all voluntary. But you can see now when we're in our league play now for grades 3 through 6s, they're having a lot of success because there's a bunch of kids that have been mini cultivars, and parents have seen some success that we've had at this level. And so the kids are bouncing the ball a little bit more, and it translates in the winter, all the stuff they're doing in the summer.
Let's delve in just a little bit to, we got a chance to watch your practice last year, and being a former coach, I just love the pace of your practice. But maybe talk to our viewers a little bit about your philosophy, or how do you develop a practice plan? You have it broken down into certain segments and kind of what you're looking for, as you make those plans.
Yeah, I think everybody does it different. I've talked to coaches from everywhere and asked them, how much contact do you do, or non-contact, or how much are you lifting, or how long are your practices? So everybody has a different kind of opinion and strategy on it. I personally believe in a lot of skill development. I believe in conditioning. I believe in, if you got kids that can dribble, pass, shoot, defend, and rebound, I think that you can win. And then it comes down to, how's their motor, how's their attitude and effort, how's their work ethic. Those 8 kind of things. We have a kid this year in Mel Blue Ball who fits every category there, all 8. I also have some really tough kids like Ashton Wine and Haley Thrush that, maybe were kind of 2 or 3 tool kind of kids that have now developed into 5 or 6 pieces of that. And so we track that, we really encourage it, and I think that roles within a team, right, are very important, and I can see kids kind of taking ownership of that during the season, and I think it does lead to some success for our team.
And you bring that up because when we did the segment with Mel around the arena, asked her kind of compare last year's team with this year's team, and the one thing she mentioned was, seems like everybody understands their role in this basketball team. And she also brought up another thing that maybe I'd like you to talk about too, because I think it's important as far as a team developing. She mentioned she didn't really mention specifically, but maybe you can, about some of the things you try to do with your team as far as building that team, in the summer and then through the fall, and now as you're in the season, maybe some, I guess we call them team bonding or team culture things that you try to do to make it more than just basketball.
Yeah, we do. We start that in the summer. Once they're out of softball, we have overnights. We have access to some facilities around here to where they can go do some things like that. in the way we select captains, we put a lot of accountability and leadership stuff baked into what they do. We give them a lot of latitude to make decisions. As far as, you know, specific team building, like the kids that understand their roles, they've all been really successful at other sports as well. I do think that that helps. I think that kids will get away what you allow them to get away with, but we encourage and we promote them to, you know, to have their own voice and to work really hard. And, you know, again, I'm incredibly lucky. I have 3 seniors this year that one of them tore her ACL, Katrina Rogers, in the summer. She's been to every practice this season, right? She's come to every practice when she could have done something else. Lily Weichel is one of the most unselfish kids I have ever coached because she doesn't care about rebounds and assists and how many shots she gets. Her role is to understand how to kind of get into our offense and run it as our post, and she's just invaluable to us. And then you have Mel, who everybody knows, so she's just taken such a big leap from, you know, support player to really a star on our team and in the area. And so, you know, for me as a coach to have that, and then for the other kids to see that, it's how you set a culture. You know, I think there's some things that we do at the top, but ultimately it's the kids, it's the parents, and the help that we've gotten from them. I don't think I could be in a better situation being at my alma mater for 5 years, and I have a bunch of parents, and it's overlooked. I have a bunch of parents that they just allow us to coach their kids as hard as we can, and it's a nice luxury to have, to where you're not getting phone calls and things like that all the time.
But I think you mentioned, you said you got a couple of players that you played with their parents.
Like Ashton Wine's dad I grew up with, graduated with. Haley's dad, Rodney, was a couple grades below us, but a lot of them I've gotten to really know even since reconnecting with the program. And you know, they let us get after the kids, and when it's warranted, we do, but a lot of them are self-motivated, so that makes it a lot easier as well for us.
Yeah. Well, from a former coach looking in on the outside, I think you're doing things the right way. I mean, that's I really enjoy watching your kids play. I enjoy watching them practice. I know you have some big games coming up this week. And from myself and the OH Report, we continue to wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to getting the chance to cover you in the tournament as we make this run.
And it means a lot to me having you here. So you guys that don't know, we played against this guy forever. I did. You're one of the best around. Obviously, well worth it. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame. And OH Report, thanks for all the coverage and everything you guys do. Thanks for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Thanks,
Greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate it.